Okay, please welcome our next speaker, Lauren McGough, who is a falconer, an anthropologist, and the only one of us to have been on 60 Minutes.
Oh, I guess I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think anybody still watched 60 Minutes anymore. I'm never going to live that down. Thank you, Tony. That was absolutely brilliant. There were so many gems of truth in there. You had me thinking that, it's really the time with our birds that we enjoy, but it's the time we spend with each other that makes us better falconers. And I'm also struck by, really to be a falconer is to be an anthropologist, because in that pursuit of knowledge, you are going into different cultures and understanding them for the common understanding of birds of prey. So it's a very cool community to be a part of. So I'm going to talk briefly about the parallel between Central Asian eagle falconry, of course one of the oldest forms of falconry, and eagle falconry in the US. So also very quickly, of course, as humans, we have been thinking about birds of prey literally as long as we've been human, and even before then. And these are just two artifacts that I find fascinating. One of the talons was actually at a Neanderthal burial site, which Neanderthals get a terrible rap. They had language, they had culture, they had art, they had tools. One of my pet peeves is talking bad about Neanderthals, and clearly if they were going to make a necklace out of eagle talons, they had some sophistication. And the other picture is called the Tomb of the Eagles, and that's in Orkney, Scotland. It's about 5,000 years old, and humans and white-tailed sea eagles were buried together. So it's hard to know the cultural context of these, but safe to say we have been thinking about raptors and eagles for a long time. So the area that I specialize in, that I love, is called the Four Corners area. So it's where Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Russia, and China meet, the Altai Mountains. And this is where passage golden eagles are used to hunt red foxes. The media likes to show imprints or wolf hunting. In my opinion and my observations, that's not something that I see done, but an ancient form of falconry is passage golden eagles on foxes, and it's highly developed. All right, so I was really lucky. I got to spend 2 years there. And when I first got there, this is a super common scene. So there's no agriculture in that area. So everything that they need, they get from their animals. Really ingenious to survive in that harsh of an environment through animals. So it is, as I was written on the previous slide, a cradle of domestication, because horses, the earliest evidence of horse domestication, camel domestication, dogs even, not too far away from that area. And in their day-to-day life, the nomadic Kazakh people there, they have goats, sheep, everything from eagles to dogs, the continuum from the wild to the tame. Anyway, so this is beshbarmak. It's their traditional meal, means five-fingered meal. And it's a goat slaughtered, typically that day. All the best bits piled on a plate, and that's how you have a discussion. So if you're out there looking for, tell me who the good falconers are and where they live, you're going to have a lot of meals like this together. And this is what I was looking for when I went out there. And I love the juxtaposition of the ancient and the modern. So in wintertime, they live in adobe homes. Holds heat better. But you've got the adobe, there's a solar panel that's a bit hidden there, you've got a motorbike, you've got hooded eagles. How ancient is that visual? And you've got fox skins drying there. So that's what I was looking for when I got to the region. And I ended up, what I wanted to do was apprentice under a good falconer, like we all want to do. And I met this man, Kukan. He had 6 kids, and none of them were interested in being falconers. And it's not their fault. It's to be a falconer in that region, you really have to be a nomadic herder, and it's a tough lifestyle. So most kids are getting educations in the city and pursuing jobs elsewhere, which is the reason behind it. But I also just love Bactrian camels. You don't need a saddle. You just slot yourself between the 2 humps. It's great. I mean, that looks like something out of Star Wars. I can't believe it's real. Okay, so he agreed to help me, and so, like I mentioned, passage eagles. So the Kazakhs believe that eagles migrate from Russia and bottleneck through the Altai Mountains in that Four Corners area on their way to China, kind of like how our Alaska eagles migrate down. And that's what they're aiming to get, is an immature female. And I use the word passage loosely here with eagles. I just mean immature, so 1 to 4 years old. And this is a very typical trap. They call it a jealousy trap, where you've got a piece of meat with a crow or a raven or even a male golden eagle nearby encircled by a net. So this was my eagle that we trapped, a second-year female. And this is, I also love this. So one of the wives of the guys that helped us is attaching an uke to the back of the eagle. An uke is a plume of eagle owl feathers. So eagle owls, if you look at their feathers, they have very fine lines, which Kazakhs think look like the Arabic writing of the Quran. So anything that you want Allah to protect, you put an uke on. If you go to the region, you'll see them hanging from rearview mirrors, you'll see them over babies' cradles, and on the backs of eagles. So I love talking to a falconry audience because I can actually get into the logistics here. So this is newly trapped eagle, and you can see on the wing there's a little bit of thread coming out of a primary. It's called suzu, and what they do is they put this thread through the middle of a primary midway down the wing, and they aim for a really quick turnaround time and training. With my eagle, it took a month from trap to first fox. It's really quick. So that is a method where if you're flying a relatively new eagle and it's a windy day and you're on top of the mountain, you can tie a bunch of the primaries together on one wing, so the eagle can still agilely stoop down after a fox, but it's less likely to catch the wind and leave. And so, of course, your training method every day for a little bit. The eagle's in the house, only unhooded for a short period of time. Feed on the fist, get to hop to the fist, transition to bull feeding. Bull feeding is a great way to mitigate aggression. It takes the eagle's feet out of the equation, hydrates them, have them fly to the fist, have them fly to the fist on horseback. Last stage is the lure pulled behind a galloping horse. And once they're doing that, you're ready to go hunting. So what's cool about this kind of falconry is it's almost like a waiting on flight that you get to see from above. So you never get a close fox slip, ever. They are always a rust-colored spot scooting along in the distance. So the reason that you're on the mountaintop is as long as you have some form of height advantage, it doesn't matter how far away the fox is, the eagle has a shot at it. And the difficult part is, because we're talking these distances in this landscape, it's tough to see it. A lot of the time you're relying on your eagle's eyesight. So you've got to develop this really, really nuanced communication with your eagle where you can tell, okay, she sees a fox, I should let her go. Consequences are bad if it's really a bait and you let them go, because then you've got to chase them all the way down the mountain. But that area doesn't support that many foxes. Just look how barren it is. So if you're out all day, you might only see 1 or 2 slips. So you also don't want to squander a slip. So lots of anxiety, but big reward when it works. So just another very typical scene. It's really cold, of course, and you're just standing there. It's the worst part. Just waiting. So if you're lucky, you've got somebody walking through the valley below on horseback to try to flush a fox. But it's a lot of being on the mountaintop and being cold. Okay, let's see. I have some videos. We'll see if they actually work. Okay, good. This is a flight. So the heaving is from being on the horse. The horses work the hardest of anybody. They're your limiting factor. You can only hunt 3 or 4 days a week because the horses are working so hard. And this is flying 2 eagles at once, which we do occasionally when there's a couple of us that want to fly. As long as they're both female and passage, I've never seen any crabbing in 2 seasons there. And they end up catching this fox. It was running kind of where that ridge is out in the distance there, but that's what a typical flight looks like. Okay. All right, sweet. So, like as I mentioned, there's not that many foxes, so I was amazed at how incredible they were at reading the White Book of the Steppe, following fox tracks, how old they were, what direction. There's a lot of really embodied hidden knowledge that goes into this kind of falconry. And part of the reason why you have to be a nomadic herder, you're always out there with your animals, so you're witnessing the lives of these wild foxes that you can then incorporate into your hunting when you're ready. This was my first fox that we caught. Like Tony James mentioned, at that point I thought I had achieved the pinnacle and I knew everything. There's many difficult days ahead, so not true. But a cool thing is the person who catches the fox is actually the least entitled to keep it. It's the person who flushes it that gets to keep the fox. So it's a good way to incentivize people to actually come out with you and help you flush. But what you do get to keep, regardless, are the front legs. And if you look at an eagle hunter's traditional hat, it's only made from the front arm fur of foxes. It's considered the softest part, and you have to catch quite a few to make a hat. So it's a way to advertise that you're a decent falconer. So this, when you catch your first fox with your first eagle, they throw you a party, which is very nice of them to include me. That's when I felt accepted. It's a very egalitarian kind of falconry. They do believe that anybody that's passionate can do it and should be able to do it. So I never felt any kind of difficulty or discrimination, but it was nice to have all the neighboring nomads come over and drink vodka and toast to each other. And it's a terrible photo because it was getting so cold that my camera would freeze and unfreeze. Oh. So that landscape, very harsh, but what makes it start to be more accessible is you realize because of their hospitality culture, every home out there is a potential rest spot and you are welcome. So most days when we're hunting, we will stop at least one place. You can see the eagle in the corner there. Quite happy to have the eagle there. Always tea, fried bread. So it starts to feel a little more hospitable when you realize how connected the landscape really is through through always being welcome in a home. So there's about 60,000 people in that region, and I would say 500 falconers. So not a huge ratio, but everybody knows about falconry, of course. Everyone's expected to be able to converse intelligently about it, appreciate a good hunting eagle. This girl, she had not seen an eagle in person, so she was very excited when we stopped there and got to see the eagle. So material culture was fascinating. This is one thing I've not seen elsewhere. They're called ayat cap. So the purpose is twofold: to prevent fox bites and extreme cold with the eagle's feet. But they make them out of boot leather, and they unravel shirts and use the thread from the shirts. But it's really ingenious, and you're just tying these very thin leather strips underneath each toe, taking them on and off between hunts, and it's actually not that tough to get them on. And then, of course, it's very strong in their culture to release the eagles. It's considered bad form, especially if it's a good hunting eagle, to keep it too long, because it's thought that you want that eagle to breed, pass on its genes, make more eagles like it for future generations of eagle hunters. So that's something I quite enjoy. So my mentor, Kukon, he died in his early 60s about 5 or 6 years ago. And I can only think about that phrase, that when an elder dies, it's as if a library has burned down. And of course, he taught me a lot, but really I can only absorb a fraction of what he knew. He learned falconry from his father and used to go hunting with his grandfather, and it's a loss. So I ruminated on it a lot, and it's one reason why I think the archives is so important, and I really enjoy it here, is that this falconry tradition, we really are egalitarian, can live on in anybody. We all come from such different backgrounds and histories, and an American and a Kazakh nomad still have that connection, and I enjoy that I use a lot of the techniques that I learned there to do eagle falconry all the way over here. So what's a cool parallel is that really the US and Central Asia are the only places where we fly passage golden eagles, for the most part. There's no captive breeding in the US of golden eagles. It's not legal. That's its own discussion. But we are allowed to fly rehab golden eagles and depredation golden eagles, which I'll talk about those. But it's the same skill of passage birds that is living here. And what we have in the United States is very rare, something precious. We've got public land, abundant quarry for the most part, opportunity, infrastructure. It doesn't cost anything to access most of this. European eagle falconry is very, very skilled, but there can be high barriers to entry financially with land access, even quarry. And there's some cultural barriers. So we have the birds and the land and the quarry to have really high quality falconry here, eagle falconry. So you can do different kinds. So this is, I was talking about all the vast distances with flying from the mountaintops. So of course, off the fist, eagle falconry, shrunk down to a very tiny scale. You've got eagle, rabbit, falconer. But also soaring eagle falconry. So these are Steve Shingren's photos, which I saved a long time ago because I love looking at them. Golden eagles are amazing waiting on. One reason in particular is they will do it for hours at a time and there's no hurry. So I can take a nice leisurely walk. It's not like my forays into flying falcons where I know I've got like 20 minutes to flush something or my falcon's going to leave. So it's quite cool in that way. They're extraordinarily capable. This is one of the best flights I've ever had. Okay, eagle, 1,000 feet plus up here. So there's a dog chasing a jackrabbit down below. Biding its time, calculating. Bam! So you can do close goshawk style flights, you can do falcon flights. We've got it all at our fingertips here. Okay. Yeah, let's play it again. All right, again, it's to the bottom. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Oh yeah, you don't even have to have a pointing dog or find grouse. It's great. Okay, almost done. So very quickly, why rehab golden eagles? Well, they've got most of you probably know this, extended post-fledging dependency period where they rely on their parents while they're learning hunting skill, gaining fitness, learning to soar. And a lot of eagles come into rehab before they've truly gained independence. And at that point, even if you cure what ails them, the lead poisoning or the broken wing, if you release them, 100% going to die. They will just deplete their fat reserves and that will be it. So falconry replicates this critical learning skill, learning period that they get from their parents. And it's the only other place I have seen this sort of rehab done is Southern Africa. They've got a really strong falconry and rehab tie. I think it's quite cool. It's a way to bring together different groups of people that might not see eye to eye, falconers, rehabbers, researchers in some ways. I'm getting ready to release a rehab eagle and we're putting a transmitter on her so we can prove the efficacy of this kind of falconry in the survival rates. So also, if anyone is interested in eagle falconry, the rehab route is a great way to get started and learn. So the depredation eagles that we are allowed to take, it's a win-win for ranchers and falconers. These are ranchers that perceive golden eagles to be killing their livestock, typically lambs during lambing season. And the federal government gives us 6 permits annually to trap passage eagles on these ranches that experience depredation. What there is not right now in the United States is widespread expertise or very many people that are practicing in this niche of falconry. And like Tony James went into, something I am passionate about is sharing this knowledge. Eagles are not difficult to fly, they're just different. And some of that basic knowledge about what's different isn't common in the US. But it's something I would like to help change through writings, bringing people together to meet. You know, they say books are a bloodless substitute for experience. If you can see it, see the way an eagle behaves, see what their aggression is like, see how to not inadvertently encourage it and how nice they can be as falconry eagles, it does a lot. I think anybody can fly them. Just takes jackrabbits and one bicep. And I know our niche is also not the most welcoming. So if people are interested in flying eagles, please reach out. Please come out hawking. We need more falconers to rehab eagles, more to be interested in flying eagles. We need to raise the bar and standard of eagle falconry in the U.S. because we don't want to squander the wonderful opportunities that we have with passage birds and quarry. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Lauren. We have time for one question. Jeff.
Quick question. In Mongolia, you mentioned that they release the eagles. Do they keep them one season only, or is it more than one?
You have some leeway. So I would say 1, especially if it's not a great bird, to 7 or 8. If you're getting past 7 or 8 seasons, people start to look at you funny, and you're getting a little social pressure to let the bird go.